So the Sacramento Kings are 0-3. Not good for a team that had a lot of excitement going into it. And based on the Kings subreddit and my Twitter mentions, and from me watching a little bit and going through some of the stats, you could say Luke Walton sucks. Because this team is, it looks like they're almost not even being coached a lot of the time. Now, I do think there's a little bit of, like, the players getting down on themselves kind of fast, which could lead to the defense having problems. And also Marvin Bagley got hurt, and that's not good. But I do think you can put a lot of blame on Luke Walton right now. And the first thing to notice is just how blah the offense is, because there's just not a lot of real stuff going on. It's basically De'Aaron Fox or Buddy Hield, can you please do something? And then that usually falls into Harrison Barnes having to do something after Fox kicks it out or whatever. There's just not a lot of structure to the offense right now. And I was watching the Jazz game. The very first play of the game, there was some off-ball movement for Buddy Hield, so I was like, oh, I don't know what everybody's talking about. Like, that was an actual play. And then the next actual play that was run was like the end of the first quarter or something. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what everybody's saying now, because I actually haven't gotten a chance to sit down and watch the Kings like that. But it all kind of makes sense now. And, like, we talk about Buddy Hield, right? Shouldn't you have Buddy Hield running around off the ball as if he's Steph Curry? It should be very easy for me to just pinpoint what Buddy Hield is doing, because he should be constantly moving, constantly going through off-ball screens, and just making the defense constantly be like, where is this dude? You know, we gotta deal with this guy, whether it's switching or whatever, right? And he's kind of not doing that. There was even a Buddy Hield isolation that I saw in the 7 minutes of the first quarter, and a little bit of the second quarter I saw, which, you know, by itself, a Buddy Hield isolation is not horrible, but when you combine it with him not moving off the ball like crazy, like a JJ Redick, then, okay, we got problems. There was even a couple attempts to get Harrison Barnes some post-ups, and it's like, why? Like, we don't want Harrison Barnes posting up, you know? And then it kind of translated to the second unit, where it was Bogdanovich just having to create out of nowhere as well. So the offense looks really clunky, and there's just not a whole lot of real direction in it. So how do you fix that? You got to drop some actual stuff. I mean, I know this team relied a lot last year on just playing fast and playing hard and liking each other, but Dave Yeager was doing more stuff than this. And, I mean, if you want to look at some stats, and I know it's 3 games into the season, sample size, whatever. The team's 0-3. I think we can already look at some things and get some things out of it. NBA.com tells me the Kings are making 207 passes a game this season, which is second worst in the league. But the only team that's worse than them is the Trailblazers. And when you have Damian Lillard, it's okay if you're not throwing the ball a million times a game, right? We look at last season. Remember, 207 this year passes a game for the Kings. Last season, sure, they were in the bottom tier of the league, but they threw nearly 300 passes, 292 to be exact. That is a drastic fall-off for a team that does not have an elite isolation player or post-up player or anything like that, right? So that's not good. Now again, Bagley is hurt and he matters for this team and all that, but Marvin Bagley should not be the difference between them being good and then being a disaster, which is what they've been up to this point. I mean, they have like the second worst offense, the fourth worst defense, and the closest loss that they've had so far has been 10 points. So, yeah, it's been really bad. So, I mean, I said earlier, obviously, like, drawing up some better things, which Luke Walton might not be capable of. I mean, do I think there was something to be kind of intrigued by because his defense got better with the Lakers each year? Like, yeah, but if your offense is so bad to where everything falls apart, then you're just kind of doing a bad job. So, number one, just hopefully drawing some stuff up. Number two, I think staggering Fox and Hield a little bit because, just looking at that Jazz game, once the second unit was in, it was Bogdanovich, can you please make something good happen? And while NBA.com does not have the Jazz game in their lineups thing yet, they do have the first 2 games, and based on those first 2 games, they pretty much never staggered those 2. There was one lineup that they did, and granted that lineup was terrible as well, but still, it's like it's always Hield and Fox playing together, and it's like, well, then you're kind of setting up the second unit for failure, Another thing that's kind of funny, I mean, it's not funny, sorry, Kings fans, but, is I went and looked at Buddy Hield's highlights versus the Suns, because I don't remember, I wasn't able to catch that one. There was probably another game I wanted to watch on, and then at some point I saw it was a blowout, so I didn't tune in. And he had 28 points, so I was thinking maybe there was some ball movement or, off-ball movement for him in that game. Not really. He basically got all of his points off of, contested threes and transition plays where he carried the ball up floor himself. And yeah, Buddy Hield's really good, so he's going to do that sometimes, but you're not maximizing his skill set by just asking him to figure it out and create something off the ball. The guy had, one play where there was some off-ball action for him, and it was one simple screen that it feels like he and the player who set the screen just kind of improvised. It wasn't a specific set or anything. So, yeah, that's not good. I mean, Buddy, if you want to argue that Buddy Hield is better than De'Aaron Fox, you would do it by saying he can make such an impact with spacing and all that stuff, right? And Luke Walton just doesn't realize that, apparently, which is really bad. I can understand coming out of the gate and, all right, we got to work on, some of the pick and rolls and the spacing is a little wonky, but we can figure that out. But if you don't realize what you have in Buddy Hield and the impact that he can make on the defense, then that's some frightening stuff. So, I don't know how all of this gets fixed. And also, Bagley's going to be out for 5 weeks or something with a thumb thing. I feel like they desperately need him right now because he's the one dude who can throw some chaos into all this, where he could have a random game with 6 blocks, or he could grab a bunch of offensive rebounds and whatever else. So we got to hope Luke Walton gets a pulse and quickly here, because this it looks bad is the only way to put it.